This is News Center Maine at 6. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Yukono.
And I'm Chris Costa, in for Amanda Hill. To say that President Donald Trump's first 100 days in office has been eventful would be a huge understatement.
In that short time, he has shaken up the federal government apparatus, in some cases eliminating entire departments, clamped down on immigration, and taken on the rest of the world in the form of tariffs. So what do Mainers think of all that has happened in Trump's first 100 days? Well, that depends on whether they vote Republican. 6 days ago, as part of its States of Opinion project, the University of New Hampshire released its latest Pine Tree State poll. In it, more than 900 Mainers were asked a series of questions, including their assessment of the president's performance. Now, overall, 57% of the respondents say they disapprove of what he is doing, while 42% say he's doing a good job. However, among Republicans only, the president's approval rating is 96%.
It is a similar trend when it comes to the president's handling of the economy, with more than half of all Mainers surveyed in the disapproval column, but 97% of Republicans saying they approve of what he's doing. That's the big picture, but we wanted to hear from Mainers themselves about what they like and do not like about the president in his second term. News Center Maine's Christian Harsa spoke with some of them today to get their thoughts.
So far, I'm 100% happy with the way things are going with the Trump administration.
Kate O'Neill voted for President Donald Trump and applauds his administration for reeling in regulations she says cost working Mainers money.
There's a lot of over-regulations that don't need to be there, and I think it's a good thing.
O'Neill and other Trump supporters are looking favorably on Trump's first 100 days in office. Susie Shepard likes the work the Department of Government Efficiency is doing.
We need to be good stewards over our money.
Shepard also approves of the tariffs, which he sees as a bargaining tactic.
If you're going to tax me, I'm going to tax you back. We got to come to some common ground.
A believer the tariffs will ultimately help, Trump advocate Joshua Miller hopes any short-term financial strain is minimal for him and his family.
We're in a situation where it can't get much harder for us.
But across the aisle, Trump critic Ruby Richards worries costs won't come down.
It's like I might never buy a house, or like I might struggle to pay student loans back, and then it's like I'm in debt for the rest of my life.
During these first 100 days, Maine's laws on gender identity have made the state a focal point for the Trump administration. A Trump critic and University of Maine student Bree Harriman disapproves of how federal funding is being used.
When the USDA just completely cut funding for a little bit, that was really scary.
Even as a Trump ally, Miller has similar concerns.
You're pulling state funding. I live in Maine. This is going to hurt me. This is going to hurt my family.
During his first 100 days, Trump has signed over 100 executive orders making sweeping changes to government policy. Trump dissenter David Dennison feels these changes are hurting the United States' world status.
They don't respect us anymore, and they don't look to us for guidance or leadership. They've basically given up on us.
Looking ahead, opposing sides of the aisle have different outlooks for the remainder of Trump's term.
He's shaking things up, and I think in the end, I think we're going to see some real progress.
We're stuck with him, so we kind of just have to adapt and go with the flow.
Christian Harsa, News Center, Maine.
The Maine State Fire Marshal's office is looking into the cause of a deadly fire in the town of Warren that happened on Monday. Investigators say it happened at a home on Ridgewood Drive. Maine's Department of Public Safety staff say a body was found inside the home. It was taken to the state medical examiner's office to confirm the identity of that person, as well as determine a cause of death. Officials say no one else was injured in that fire. And the fire marshal's office is still investigating a deadly fire in Portland that happened at the beginning of March.
Yeah, they executed a search warrant at a home on Olympia Street in connection with that investigation. News Center Maine's Caroline LaCour is outside what remains of that home with more on today's search. Caroline.
More than a month later, investigators are back at this home right behind me here on Olympia Street in Portland. Earlier today, multiple agencies were on scene, including the ATF and the Portland Police's bomb squad. Now, this is, like you mentioned, this is all in connection with the fire that happened back in March. According to state police, Portland firefighters were called here to Olympia Street around 1:15 a.m. back on Thursday, March 6th. Now, at the time, the fire chief told us his crews were able to get 5 people out of the home. One of them died. Police are now identifying that person as 36-year-old Douglas Grant of Portland. The others were taken to the hospital. Now, according to state police, an investigation will be ongoing here for the next 2 days. The public is being advised to stay clear of the area as folks continue to collect evidence. Live in Portland, Caroline LaCour, News Center, Maine.
Caroline, our thanks to you tonight. Well, this past weekend, we were once again reminded of just how dangerous being a fisherman off the New England coastline can be.
In January, 2 scallopers, a father and son, died when their boat sank during a storm while they were on their way home to South Addison after fishing near Lubec.
Then on Saturday, we learned that Jackson Marsden of Madison died from injuries while scalloping off the coast of Massachusetts. Another Mainer, Jamie Bailey, was critically injured in that same incident.
News Center Maine's Pearl Small spoke with some fellow scallopers who were in Massachusetts when that incident happened and asked how they're processing this latest death.
On today's episode, we will discuss hauling back the dredge. Bear witness to our ventures.
Explaining how scallop dredging works is easy for Eric Grove, who's been doing it since he was 18.
We tow a heavy dredge behind the boat off our cargo winch, and that drags along the bottom. And what it does is it kicks up the scallops off the seabed floor, and they collect inside the bag of the dredge. The men sort the pile, picking out the good scallops from the shells and debris that we catch from the bottom of the ocean.
Scallop season in the northern Gulf of Maine is short. It's just a few weeks in April that Grove and other Maine fishermen journey out to scallop, make some extra money, and then go back to their regular lives.
It's kind of this big migration of Maine fishermen down to Gloucester, Massachusetts. And, like I said, we all know each other and we all have a connection doing what we do and enjoying it.
But this year was different because not everyone made it back. On one of the last days of the season, 2 fishermen were struck by a snapped rope. 26-year-old Jackson Marsden from Addison died from his injuries, and Jamie Bailey suffered serious injuries and is still recovering.
We're, listening to the transmissions on the radio and everything, you get the goosebumps and just that sick feeling, that a crew member or another, fellow fisherman is in danger or hurt, whatnot. It's really scary.
Grove says it's been an unfortunate reminder of the risks their jobs require.
All fishing is dangerous. Scalloping is extra dangerous in the fact that we're dragging a heavy drag along the bottom of the ocean.
If the dredge gets stuck on a big rock or a ledge at the bottom of the ocean, it could capsize the boat. And if the dredge picks up too much weight, it can strain the ropes and cables pulling it up.
The dredge weighs over 2,000 pounds alone, and when you add rocks and scallops inside it, you're talking 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of weight hanging in the air above your head.
Grove says following safe fishing practices and routinely replacing and maintaining equipment is key to preventing accidents. But you can only prepare so much.
Freak accidents happen. They do happen, and it's a sad part of it, and it's a risk we all take every time we leave the dock.
In Portland, Pearl Small, News Center, Maine.
There are GoFundMe accounts set up to support both of the fishermen involved in the accident. Jackson Marsden's will go to support his girlfriend and his family.
And Jamie Bailey's will go to helping him recover from his injuries. You can find links to both of those on newscentermaine.com. Still ahead right here tonight, the future of a new music venue in Portland is still up in the air.
That's later, but first, how some Mainers are now, reluctantly, part of the history of forever chemicals in America. You're watching News Center Maine at 6.
For more than 4 years now, Maine has been at the forefront of the PFAS crisis. Our state has enacted laws to limit the toxic chemicals in drinking water and has banned the use of PFAS-contaminated sludge on farmland.
And as News Center Maine's Vivian Lee shows us, a recently released book outlines those efforts and shares how some of the lives of some Mainers have been forever changed by forever chemicals.
In 2019, Fred Stone was the first farmer to speak out about high levels of PFAS chemicals discovered in his cow's milk, soil, feed, drinking water, and his family's blood. A flurry of worldwide media coverage followed. the struggles faced by his family, and how the contamination from sludge spreading bankrupted their century-old dairy farm were highlighted in a nationwide documentary released last year.
We were poisoned.
Now, the experiences of Stone and other Mainers dealing with the aftermath of these toxic compounds are chronicled in a new book titled Poisoning the Well: How Forever Chemicals Contaminated America.
It hurts. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it, Vivian. It hurts bad because you're pretty much rehashing what's happened over that time frame.
The book was written by Sharon Udazin and Rachel Frazen. Udazin, a climate reporter based in Colorado, spent time in southern and central Maine interviewing Stone, other farmers, and individuals affected by the chemicals.
It was those personal stories that really drove this issue forward. It was people who experienced, regular people who experienced the devastation, who actually were the activists.
The book also includes stories from residents living in other heavily contaminated areas across the country, including Colorado and Alabama. Udazin discovered that Maine leads the nation in implementing laws aimed at reducing PFAS contamination in all aspects of the community, from drinking water to sludge.
Maine is far ahead of other states in terms of legislation and regulation. So I found that interesting that this state actually really took action. Like Alabama hasn't taken action. Colorado has, but not as much as Maine.
Despite the pain of reliving his family's ordeal, Stone believes the book effectively illustrates how widespread these toxic chemicals are. It also details his ongoing health issues. Stone has Parkinson's disease and believes years of exposure may have played a role. He is still disposing contaminated milk from a small portion of what once was his herd, having had to cull dozens of cows.
And there is some levels of compensation, yes, from the state or from USDA, but not anywhere near to the extent of the damages that have been done.
Udazin, meanwhile, hopes the book will raise awareness about the personal toll of PFAS contamination and help educate the public about the toxic compounds. In Arundel, Vivian Lee, News Center, Maine.
The book's last chapter explores how scientists throughout the world are innovating various methods that could actually someday break the bonds of those seemingly indestructible compounds. We have some rain on the way. Keith's forecast is coming up next.
And then what Portland City Council decided to do about that proposed new music hall.